I have a bone to pick with you guys. I don't know why you guys put me through this all the time. Like, why do you guys do this to me? I do these things for you guys, and you guys put me through 2 hours of complete trash. So today we are talking about Wuthering Heights. I went to watch it because a lot of you kept asking for my thoughts, and I wanted to talk about this book, and I wanted to talk about the movie, and I wanted to give it its due diligence, right? But I want to say, you owe me 2 hours of my life. That was 2 hours of my life that I cannot get back because that was complete trash. That was absolute horrible. And I actually, let me pause, right? Let me pause. I went into this feeling a little bit negative about the whole thing because of everything I was seeing online, but I wanted to give it its due diligence, and I said I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna listen. One of the things that actually put me off the movie was I watched an interview where the director, I forgot her name, she said that she read the book Wuthering Heights when she was 14, and so she's making this movie from the perspective of her 14-year-old brain. In fact, initially I was like, oh, that's fine, but then I went in there and what the hell was that? What was that? Was that your attempt at SMUT, at being spicy? You turned a really great dark gothic novel with complex characters and complex psychology into dog crap, because that's what it was. Welcome back, my beautiful nerd gang. Welcome to another session of Nerding Out with your favorite nerd. I hope I'm your favorite nerd. I better be your favorite nerd. Okay, one of your favorite nerds. So let's talk about Wuthering Heights. You know what? I know I'm gonna shit talk this movie and I'm gonna turn a lot of people off it, but I wanna put a huge disclaimer. This movie does not represent the book. The book is something that it's not part of my top 10. I reread it before watching the movie because I wanted to I really wanted to give it its due diligence, right? And so I reread it, and when I read it when I was 14, I think I really liked it. But again, I was in my gothic 80s vibe, like 1800s vibes. I was very much into that 1800s classical gothic, is it a haunted castle, are there vampires, are there ghosts? I was very into it, and when I picked up this book, I picked it up because if initially there's mention of a ghost, and I thought there was gonna be like more mentions of ghosts. There really wasn't, but then I liked the complexities of the characters, and especially the fact that the book itself goes through 2 or 3 generations. 2 generations. And I really like that. When I reread it now, much older, I don't think it's one of my favorite things. One of my favorite books. It is an incredible story with great writing. I do just feel like it's just a bit, it's not boring, but I think in the 21st century where you have Netflix in your hands and you can browse over 300 stories and you watch so many different things, it will not stand out as much as it would have back then. But I really love the book. The movie I hated, but I wanna give you guys a complete and thorough recap and review. So let's start with the book. So the book is set in it opens in 1801, right? We meet this man who is coming back from the city, right? And he's coming back, I forgot his name because he only appears very shortly. So we meet Mr. Lockwood, right? And there's many names that I'm gonna mention. So we meet Mr. Lockwood, He's this fancy city gentleman. He's just rented Thrushcross Range. Remember that, Thrushcross Range, right? And he rented it from the landlord Heathcliff. And so he basically is running away from the city because he ghosted a girl. Even in the 1800s, guys, men were just trifling. Men were just being some very, very they were trifling. So he ghosted this girl. He moves back there to the country, and he rents Thrushcross Range, yeah, from Heathcliff, right, who stays in Wuthering Heights. And so one night he decides to go visit his neighbors, right? He goes there and he meets aging or middle-aged Heathcliff, and Heathcliff is basically a grumpy old man. He's not pleasant, and in this he meets Heathcliff, and Heathcliff has 4 people actually, and it's Cathy, beautiful bratty Cathy, remember her name. And we also meet it's young Cathy, right? She's beautiful, but she's bratty. It's Harrington, and it's Lincoln, and then there's Nellie, right? He meets these people, has some conversation with them. It starts snowing, and so he can't go back the other side to the castle that he's renting, or the manor that he's renting. And so he stormed in. He has to spend the night, and he spends the night basically, it's freezing, he has nothing to do. He finds a diary, and he starts reading this diary. This diary belonged to Catherine, who happens to be Cathy's mom. Remember that there's Catherine, who wrote the diary. There's Cathy, who we've met. She's bratty, she's beautiful. And then so he finds the book for the older Cathy, and the diary of the older Cathy, and he starts reading it. And basically he then sees Catherine's ghost. This is where I was like, is this a ghost story? I love a ghost story. It's not. Then basically Catherine's ghost keeps saying, let me in through the window, let me in through the window. He's a bit freaked out. He doesn't. I don't remember. He does let her in. He does let her in, and he goes back to sleep, and he gets sick. And then he goes back to sleep, and he has horrible nightmares. And then in the morning he wakes up and he goes home. And when he goes home, he has his servant Nellie, right? And then he wants to know the tea about that family, about Catherine and everything. How did she die? And he's sick. And so Nellie, who is telling the story, I just want to tell you guys right here, Nellie's not a reliable narrator. That's one of the things that I found so fascinating about reading this book, was Nellie never came across as a reliable narrator to me. And so I always wondered how much of if you are like me, you will despise the characters. You will find the characters unpleasant, unlikable, bratty, full of themselves, flawed to the T, and you will not like these characters if you are like me. And I wonder how much of that is genuinely because they are bad people, or because Nellie is making them out to be bad people. But stay with me, let's go. So then Nellie starts telling Lockwood the story of Wuthering Heights and everything. And so it goes all the way back to Catherine's dad, Mr. Earnshaw. So Mr. Earnshaw traveled, right? And he came back with a present for his kids. But the present was a human, a brown, dark-skinned orphan boy. Initially, when I read this, I thought, did he bring them back as slave? But it was like he doted over this boy, Heathcliff. He actually names Heathcliff after his other son who dies. So I'm like, okay, it's not a slave. He doesn't really treat him like a slave. He dotes over him. He really likes Heathcliff. So is it maybe that Heathcliff is an affair child? Like, was Mr. Earnshaw Did he have a second family, and for some reason he has to bring back his son and, you know, make his other family accept his son or something like that? I was wondering, is that what it is? But I mean, the way this book progresses into something incestuous, well, if this theory is right, if Heathcliff is Mr. Earnshaw's bastard child, then what is going to happen next with Catherine, the older Catherine, what's going to happen next is going to be giving Cersei Lannister and, you know, the Lannisters. So we're not going to do that. So I was like, okay, maybe that's not it. She just likes this brown orphan boy. Fine. So Mr. Earnshaw has 2 kids. Hindley, his oldest son, and Catherine. And then we said the other kid died, and he names that Heathcliff after the other kid. And so he loves Heathcliff. Cathy and Hindley are first like, who's this stranger you brought into our house? Cathy eventually warms up to him. Hindley hates him. And I think a lot of Hindley's hatred comes from the fact that Mr. Earnshaw seems to favor Heathcliff. And so Hindley just keeps beating him up. He keeps bullying him. He keeps physically harassing him. Cathy and Heathcliff become very close. Like, you see them fall in love. You see them, you know, be mischievous, fall in love and everything. But everything changes when Mr. Earnshaw dies. Well, actually, before Mr. Earnshaw dies, he notices that Hindley keeps beating up Heathcliff, and so he sends Hindley to boarding school, which is why I'm like, no man, it's not, Heathcliff can't be some orphan boy. There must be a secret, because why would you send away your own biological child for the orphan child that you just adopted? It's suspicious, no? Am I the only one? Is it me? Am I the problem? Maybe I am. But anyway, first let's keep it going. Because I wanna talk about how much I despise the book. So let me the movie. So let me get through this. So then Hindley is gone. Heathcliff and Cathy are falling madly in love with each other. Life is good. Then Papa Earnshaw dies, and Hindley has to come back and be that, because he's the heir of Wuthering Heights. He has to take over, look after the manor, look after the family businesses and everything. And when Hindley comes back, he comes back with a wife. The wife is sort of like, you don't really go into her, so I don't even remember her name. And Hindley basically decides that he's gonna treat Heathcliff like a slave. So he strips away all of Heathcliff's rights and dignities and everything that he was afforded by Papa Earnshaw, and he basically turns Heathcliff into a slave, a servant. He just works the grounds. But this doesn't stop Cathy and Heathcliff from falling madly in love with each other. In fact, they continue in their little love nest. They continue in their little love bubble. And fast forward to when they're around 16, 17, Hindley's wife dies, and she gives birth to a son. I think his name is Harrington. Gives birth to a son, Harrington. Let me just double check. Yeah, gives birth to his son, Harrington, and his wife dies giving birth to Harrington, and Hindley becomes a drunk. Like, he becomes crazy. Like, he's just nuts. But this brings Cathy and Heathcliff closer and closer together, and they spend their days just wandering the streets, not just the streets, but the manor, being 2 little loved birds and just minding their own business. And at this time, because Hindley is such a drunk, he's not minding what his sister is doing. Like, so his sister's just doing whatever that they are doing. And then what happens next is that Cathy and Heathcliff have this idea to spy on their neighbors, the Lingtons, who stay in I keep forgetting that the other house. Let me see if I remember the name. I don't remember the name. They stay in the other house. I said in the beginning, right? So they sneak into that house, they spy on their neighbors, and as they are leaving, Catherine gets like bitten by a dog, and basically the family like takes her in and says, we're gonna take care of you, and they just chase Heathcliff away because go away, brown slave boy, go away, go away. And then they just take Catherine. They actually treat her really well. They teach her to be a lazy lady. They keep her there for like 6 weeks or more, like for 6 months. How long? They kept her there for a very long time, which is like, why are you guys just keeping some girl in your house? Like, did you guys check with her brother? Like, suspicious. But anyway, they keep her there, and while she's there, she becomes an actual lady. Like, she learns proper manners. They have a son named Edgar and a daughter named Isabella, and Edgar likes Catherine and Catherine likes Edgar. And when we actually see Heathcliff is a bit worried that when Cathy does come back, she will be like changed, which we will see, by the way. And so when Cathy comes back, she's a proper lady, and she's speaking to Nellie, and she tells Nellie she wants to marry Edgar. And Nellie's like, oh, what about Heathcliff? And then Cathy says it would degrade her to marry Heathcliff. But she does love him. Now, see, Nellie is kind of, girl, you're trifling. Girl, you are trifling. Nellie could see Heathcliff was there listening to this whole thing, and she did not stop Cathy from saying this. She just said, go off, girl. Say what you think. So Cathy's like, I cannot marry Heathcliff. It would degrade me to marry Heathcliff. And Heathcliff hears this and he runs off. But he did not hear the part where Catherine says, but I love him. Oh, he cannot know that I love him. He didn't hear that part, so he just runs off. And I'm like, oh. And so he runs away. Cathy looks for him, screams his name, Heathcliff, Heathcliff, Heathcliff. But he doesn't find him, and she doesn't find him, and he's gone. Fast forward, Cathy marries Edgar, moves in with Edgar and his family. And 3 years later, Heathcliff comes back. I think now they're like 21, 19, somewhere there. 20, somewhere there. He comes back and he's rich. He's rich. And he has manners and he's a gentleman. But it's like, it's implied that the way he got these riches was not good. He probably did some sketchy business, gambling or something. He comes back and he's like this dark, brooding man. I'm like, ooh, daddy. But no, spoke too soon. Now he comes back. Cathy's married. Cathy, obviously, she's like, oh my God, my love is back. But she tries to play it cool, right? She tries. Heathcliff is like, no. So first thing, Heathcliff is coming back with an agenda. He has an agenda. He's going to take revenge on everybody he feels hurt him. So first person he wants to take revenge on is Hindley. Obviously, Hindley used to abuse him, beat him, turned him into a servant. All these not so nice things. So he basically wins Wuthering Heights back from, he takes it away from Hindley. He becomes the owner of Wuthering Heights. And when he does that, I think Hindley just dies or something, I don't even remember. And then he turns Hindley's son, Harrington, into a glorified servant. And it's like, oh, like you can see that Heathcliff is a dark, twisted villain, like a villain. He's a villain because what did Harrington do to you? I know you're getting revenge on what the father did to you, but what did he do to you specifically? And also, his grandfather adopted you. Like, have some sympathy. No, he doesn't. So that's his first revenge plan. The second is he basically goes to the Linton's house and he starts chit-chatting with them. He stays with them for some time, and in that time he's like flirting with Isabella because he wants to hurt Catherine and Edgar by stealing Isabella. Isabella, I think, is one of my favorite characters here because she for me is the only victim. She's not a great person. Like, she's not the best, but from this generation, she's the only person that I feel like was not a horrible person. But Isabella is like, oh, so madly in love with Heathcliff. Because why wouldn't you? This strange, handsome, dark-skinned guy comes in. He's got money. He owns Wuthering Heights. He's like dangerous. He's adventurous. You don't know where he's been. And you're like, take me. Okay, don't take me serious. But anyway, so she's like so in love with Heathcliff, and Catherine tries to warn Isabella. Everyone tries to warn Isabella, but Isabella is not hearing it. She's not hearing it. Eventually, Edgar's like, I'm done with you. You flirting with my wife. You flirting with my sister. Get the hell out of my house. And Heathcliff leaves, but he takes Isabella with her. Well, Isabella follows him and they elope. They get married. And Catherine is so heartbroken that she stops eating. By the way, at this time, Catherine is pregnant. This is where I'm like, what's wrong with Catherine? By the way, I do not like Catherine's character whatsoever. She's so bratty. She's so self-centered. She is unreasonable. I do not like people that are unreasonable. You are pregnant, but you're gonna starve yourself to a point that you're gonna get sick and almost lose your child because of a guy that is not even your husband. So she locks her in. She's just horrible Catherine. Anyway, on the other side in Wuthering Heights, Isabella and Heathcliff have eloped, and Heathcliff is the worst husband ever. He's abusive, he's narcissistic, he's manipulative. He literally physically abuses and psychologically abuses Isabella. Like, it's quite bad. And I really feel bad for her, because this is where you see that Heathcliff is not a good guy. He's a horrible person. I mean, that what he does to Harrington is bad, but what he's like, it's bad. Like, he's horrible. Heathcliff is not a good guy. That's what I'm saying. This is not a romance novel. This is not about two people that love. This is about two people who are just horrible people. Anyway, so on the other side, Catherine is sick and she keeps writing Heathcliff letters, but Nellie is not sending the letters because, again, Nellie is shady Nellie, shady. She doesn't send the letters, and eventually Catherine actually gives birth, but she dies because she's so weak. She hasn't been eating. She's just been depressed. She dies while giving birth. She gives birth to a girl, and there you have it. You have the Cathy that we met in the beginning of the book. So Cathy now has been born. Edgar is very depressed. He takes his daughter Cathy, raises his daughter with Nellie's help and everything. On the other side, Isabella gets pregnant. She has a son named Linton. She escapes Heathcliff, which I was like, I'm so proud of you, girl. I'm so proud of you. She escapes Heathcliff with her son Linton, and Heathcliff is just like this. Before that, I think the most iconic part of this book was when Heathcliff finds out that Catherine is dead. He rushes over because Nellie, who did not send any of the letters, only informs him when she's dead. He rushes over. She's on her deathbed and she's dead, and Heathcliff holds her body and he's screeching and he's crying and he says, haunt me, I don't want to lose you. Remember that Justin Bieber song that says, and if I can't be next to you, I'll settle for the ghost of you. You know that song? That song, I'll settle for the ghost of you. And that's what happens. Clearly we saw the ghost in the beginning of the book. And we skip over to the second generation. Edgar, he literally keeps his daughter Cathy as far away from Wuthering Heights as possible, because he's like, don't even. And by the way, Harrington, who's been with Heathcliff this entire time, is like this shell of a man. Like, he's just like this dim-witted, doesn't even speak properly, because that's what that's the abuse that Heathcliff is inflicting on everybody and anybody. And so eventually Cathy, like her mom, she decides to spy on her neighbors. History repeats itself. And she sees her dim-witted cousin and she runs away. And Heathcliff comes up with this idea that firstly, he's going to get his son Linton back away from Isabella. I actually don't remember if it's because Isabella died or if he threatened her or whatever, but Linton moves back. And now it's Harrington and Linton living with Heathcliff. Heathcliff has this idea that he wants to own both the manors, Wuthering Heights and Thrushcross Range. And so when Edgar dies and leaves Cathy as the heir, Heathcliff comes up with this idea that his son is gonna marry Cathy. So Cathy comes to visit and basically he makes her stay there and tries to convince her that she must marry Linton. Heathcliff, Cathy, the second generation Cathy, is bratty. She's self-centered, but she's not as bad as her mom. I feel like her being raised by Edgar and Nellie to an extent helped her a little bit, because older Catherine was just bad. She was just horrible. I didn't like her. And so she really doesn't want to marry Linton because Linton is very sickly, but Heathcliff is like forcing it. Like he forces it to basically happen. And now we are back to the beginning of the book where, you know, Catherine is dead, Edgar is dead, everybody from the first generation is dead except for Nellie and Heathcliff. And Heathcliff is like this crazy grumpy old guy who treats everybody like trash. And so at the end of the book, Heathcliff dies and Nellie finds his body like with this weird smile. Linton dies, thank God, because Cathy would have been stuck with that guy. And Cathy and Harrington, they that Targaryen type of stuff. Cathy helps Harrington to become more of a person, start speaking out more, and they escape away from Wuthering Heights together. And at the end, Nellie says that you can still see two ghosts walking together. And I'm like, is that supposed to be romantic? Is that supposed to be romantic? Two ghosts roaming around Wuthering Heights together, which represent older Catherine and Heathcliff, because I guess. So I guess now when I'm talking about the book, I'm realizing that actually maybe I didn't really like the book as much. I respect it. When it's a classical, it's really great, and it's very complicated. But now let's talk about the movie. The trash, the upset, the I don't even know what to say about. I don't even know. First of all, when I first saw the cover, you guys cannot see. When I first saw the cover, I thought, ooh, dark. And that's the first thing I thought, because you see the lightning and everything, and I thought, oh, I'm gonna love this. And a lot of people saw the cover and thought this is romance, but as we have seen, it's not romantic at all. Then I saw that Margot Robbie is playing Catherine. I was not very thrilled with this because I felt like Catherine at the time is supposed to, and this sounds ageist. Bear with me, I'm not ageist. I'm not ageist. I'm not at all. I just feel like Margot Robbie is beginning to look her age, and this sounds bad. I'm so sorry, don't come at me. But she doesn't seem like a, 20-something year, young, early 20-something brighty girl. And so that's why I think I hated the movie so much, because she's portraying this bratty girl, and instead it's this bratty 30-something year old, and I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you? Grow up. You cannot act this way. You're an adult. This is not okay. So I guess that's why I for me it was such a huge disconnect. She's a great actress. She's beautiful. I absolutely love her. I like the I don't know what's her name, the actress that plays the younger Cathy. She chef's kiss. Chef's kiss. By the way, now the what the movie does is they don't talk about the second generation at all. They focus everything on the first generation, Heathcliff, Catherine, Hindley. In fact, there's no Hindley. So what they did instead in the movie is that Mr. Earnshaw goes and he comes back with this orphan boy. He's not brown. He's not brown at all. As you can see, they cast not a brown boy. We've had this conversation before. And for me, I think it takes away from the story that he is a white man. Because instead of it being this complex, multi-layered story about potential racism, about classism, about, you know, how the bourgeoisie, how the rich treat other people, you know, instead they turn him white. There was still a lot of classism and it was still there, that layer was there. But one of my favorite lines from Cathy is not my favorite line, but one of the most pivotal parts is when Cathy says it would degrade her to marry Heathcliff. And the undertone of the racism is there, and so to make him white takes away from that, because now it's all classism. Maybe that's what it is. I don't really want to go very deep into it. I do feel like them making him white took away from the story. And now let's go into the actor himself. He's a hubba. Ooh, you guys know I love me a big man, tall. Like my 5'2". I am 5'2", and I like my man 6 foot and above, and I'm married one. You guys know that. So beautiful man. Not the right person to play this role, even after we take away the fact that he's white. Just him as a character, he's a great actor, but I just feel like he wasn't Heathcliff. No, he wasn't. He just wasn't. Now, and another thing that they did is they then turned Edgar Pakistani, which really, I mean, it now purely became a classist thing, because in the books Edgar is this white rich guy, and so when she says it will degrade her to marry Heathcliff, the undertones are there. But now that Edgar's a Pakistani brown man, you know, you see what they've done, what they did. So I'm not now let's talk to the reason why I hated the movie above everything else. Why I hated it above everything else is, so in the movie we don't, what happens instead, there's no Hindley. It's actually Mr. Earnshaw who abuses both Catherine and Heathcliff, making them sort of like trauma bond. And I understand maybe this was, you know, a vehicle that they decided to use. I guess they wanted to make them bond a little bit further, but in my opinion, Cathy just loved Heathcliff, or she thought she loved Heathcliff. So there's no Hindley, so there's no abuse. There's not that. The abuse comes directly from Mr. Earnshaw, and he abuses both. He's the drunk. He's the one who's all of this and that. And I think it takes away from Heathcliff's revenge, and instead his revenge became, well, it didn't, because he still became the heir of Wuthering Heights, but now his revenge was now only targeted towards Cathy and Edgar, and I didn't like that. I didn't like that connection. as a viewer, I didn't like that at all. And so everything happens, the conversation happens, Cathy delivers her line, Heathcliff gets mad, he goes away, he comes back 18 years, few years later, 3 years later, and he's here to get his revenge on Edgar and everybody. He's flirting with Cathy, flirting with Isabella, he's banging Cathy, banging Isabella, and now Heathcliff and Isabella elope and they go, and this is the injustice. Instead of Heathcliff being the abusive, horrible villain that he is, they wanted to make him this sexy sex symbol, this dark romance kind of person, and they stripped away the abuse, and instead it became this kind of like smarty thing. So in the book, Heathcliff kills Isabella's dog. In the movie, they make Isabella walk on all fours like a dog to please in this sexual thing that him and Heathcliff are doing. And guys, you know, I don't judge people for their kinks. I would never judge anybody for their kinks, but I just felt it did such an injustice to Isabella's story. She's a survivor. She escaped an abusive situation, and instead they turned her abuse into a sexual fantasy. And for me, that was the biggest misjustice that the director did. And the fact that the director says she read Wuthering Heights when she was 14, and this is what she envisioned. You envisioned this when Heathcliff killed Isabella's dog. You envisioned Isabella on all fours acting like a dog with, like, you envisioned smutty rubbish when you were 14. I don't think so. For me, like, that's no, girl, tell the truth. You wanted to do what you did. What Hollywood always does is you wanted to use sex to sell, to fill seats. That's what you wanted to do. That's why you use two very attractive actors and actresses, and you put them in our screens, and you thought we were going to make TikTok edits, because of course we love TikTok edits. I am an Nicolandrian stan. I love Orlando, I love Nick, I love their edits. I live for their edits. I watch their edits like nobody's business. I love a man that yearns. I just love, put in a good music, give me some people loving on each other and make an edit, and I will just scroll through TikTok. That's what they were trying to do, and they failed, because you can tell with the imagery of this movie what they were trying to do, and they failed, because we are not stupid. Like, viewers are not stupid. We know what you guys are doing. Most of the times we ignore it because we think, ugh. But if you're not even going to give us something worth giggling over, then don't treat us like we are dumb. And so that is why I hated Wuthering Heights, the movie. My rating of the book, I think before I reread it, I would have said it was a strong 7.5. Now that I've reread it as an adult, I think it's like a 6.5. I think it's well written. Some people hate the pace. They feel like it's too slow. I'm okay with the pace. I find it very, very interesting that each character is so fascinating. They're so multi-layered. You fall in love with them, you hate them, you despise them. I feel like when a writer writes a character that I hate with all my heart, that's peak writing. If you can make me hate a character as an actor or even as a writer, like, I hated Joffrey Lannister. So that's how you know that that's a great character and that's a great actor, because they made me hate that person. Everybody hates Cersei, but Cersei is one of my favorite characters in Game of Thrones. Don't say anything. Don't tell me anything. I don't want to hear anybody say anything. I love Cersei because she's such a complex character, so multi-layered, and I like her. A lot of people don't, but I do. And so the fact that I hated Cathy and I hated Heathcliff when I was reading the book, that's great writing. The reason why I hated them in the movie was not because the actors did such a great job. It was just because everything was trash. From watching them do this cat mouse thing that they did when in their 30s, it's just, ugh, no. And I'm not saying 30-year-olds can't do all of that. I'm just saying that it being portrayed the way it was portrayed just was trash for me. So the movie for me is like 3 out of 10. And the 3 is because some of the imagery, some of the costumes were great. And I also love Margot Robbie, and I think I have some biasness there, so that's where the 3 comes from. But other than that, I really wish I could have those 2 hours back. I wish I went to a library instead. In fact, I did go to a library, and I'll show you guys this vlog that I did when Dubai libraries are so beautiful, so beautiful. But I really would have rather done anything and everything other than spend 2 hours watching that. But that's it for me. Thank you so much, my beautiful net gang. Don't forget to subscribe, like, follow, share, and I will see you next time. I love you so much.